understanding as to what really played out over the past 2 years plus. Let me start off by telling you, um, Mr. Conway and I were members of the Police Service Commission. The Police Service Commission is responsible for promoting and disciplining ranks in the Guyana Police Force from inspector up to assistant commissioner. You have other roles as well, but the primary roles of the commission are to promote ranks from inspector to assistant commissioner. We also deal with make recommendations for commissioner and deputy commissioner, and to discipline persons from inspector to assistant commissioner. And for the policemen who are here as well, the Police Service Commission is also a disciplinary authority. So if you are fined, if you are awarded punishment by anyone in the force, that is the divisional commander, the law, the constitution provides that you can appeal. If it is a divisional commander, you can appeal to the commissioner. And you can appeal the decision of the commissioner to the Police Service Commission. So it's not only promoting and disciplining persons from inspector to assistant commissioner, but there's a wider role when it comes to discipline as the final disciplinary authority. Again, if you are awarded, let's say, if you are reduced in rank by the commissioner, you can appeal that to the Police Service Commission. If you are fined by your divisional commander, you can appeal that to the commissioner in the first instance. And if you're not satisfied with the decision of the commissioner, you can appeal that to the Police Service Commission. So it's a role. So we, in 2018, we were made members of the Police Service Commission. I was the chairman. Mr. Conway was a member. Mr. Summersall, Mike Summersall, attorney at law, retired assistant commissioner, who was the chairman of the Public Service Commission, was also automatically, ex officio, a member of the Police Service Commission. We also had retired women assistant commissioners, Claire Jarvis, and what's her name? CC helped me out here, Jarvis and Vesta Adams. And sorry, Vesta. So we had Vesta Adams, retired assistant commissioner, woman assistant commissioner, and Adams and Clay Jarvis. So we were members of the Police Service Commission, right? So give you the background. Now, you will recall that President Irfan Ali was sworn in on the 2nd day of August 2020. We were sworn in as member of the Police Service Commission in August 2018. The president was sworn in on the 2nd of August 2020. Now, immediately after the swearing, the records will show some movements took place in the force at the senior level. Ikin was sent to operations. We had Brutus shortly came to admin. Branham went back to CID as the crime chief. You had Karim Bash went to Soku. And you had Edgar Thomas, who was on pre-retirement leave, was called out from pre-retirement leave to head the Presidential Guard. So those movements took place shortly after the swearing of the president, right? Now, those persons were put into position that is above the rank. So you had a man who is a senior superintendent went there as admin, unprecedented. You had a man who is a senior superintendent went to Soku, unprecedented. So these people were put into this position, and then the next thing was an effort to get them promoted. The next thing was an effort to get these persons promoted. But as I've indicated to you, the government can't promote nobody. It's the Police Service Commission. That is the Constitution. The government can't promote. It's the Police Service Commission. So what happens next? They made efforts to get those persons promoted. A meeting was arranged between me and the president for the 16th of September 2020. So the president sworn in on August 2nd, a meeting. I met him at the office of the president on the 16th of September. One-on-one meeting. During the course of that meeting, the question of promotion came up and certain names were mentioned. He specifically mentioned the name of Karimbash and Brutus and others. He talked about Mark Forson. I didn't even know who Mark Forson was. He mentioned that. He told me about, when I told him about the pending disciplinary matters against these persons, he told me that Paul Williams had matters pending against him. He told me that. And I told him then, well, it's not only Williams, because I told him that the current crime chief, sorry, not the crime chief, the current traffic chief, had a matter pending too. An allegation was made by a female journalist that he sexually assaulted her, and I told him those matters are pending. And I further said to him that what should happen is all of these pending matters should be dealt with as expeditiously as possible. There is a conversation we had on the 16th of September. They're also denying and all that. I want them to take polygraph. I'm willing to take a lie detector test, a polygraph test. So we had that conversation, and the conversation, of course, I spoke about the buttering up, where he told me that he wanted me to remain as the chairman of the Police Service Commission, and there was to have some other commission set up that he wanted me to be a member. All of that took place. The meeting ended when he actually told me that, because I told him that we were in the process of making these promotions, because we had instructed the secretary to write to the police administration for them to make recommendations for promotions. Because we know it's a long process. So we instructed the secretary sometime, it would have been late July, sometime around then. Now, following the meeting with the president, we discovered, because when we had the first statutory meeting thereafter, we discovered that the secretary had not dispatched that letter to the administration of the force. I was annoyed, because when you dispatch this letter now after the meeting with the commission, the president, it gave the impression that it was because of that meeting we were then jumping into action, which wasn't the case. It was not the case. So that meeting took place on the 16th of September. The very next day, Arafat Kwalanda called me. He's the man, I think, safe Queensway. Called me. I had him down as a friend. We were in the rifle club together. I knew his father, a policeman from CID, and we had a close relationship. Can't deny that. We had a close. He called me, and he wanted to meet with me. Did not say what the meeting was about. Said no problem. He arranged for the meeting to take place in Middle Street. There's a cafe, or I don't know, a cafe on the southern side as you approach Main Street. There's a little place there. We met the afternoon. I wasn't certain where the place was. He gave me directions. And coincidentally, as I turned up, he turned up around the same time. We went in there, we had a discussion, we had something to bite, and then he said the purpose of the meeting, it was that the Attorney General Anil Nandalal wanted to meet with me, but he was afraid. That is what he told me. Nandalal was afraid to approach me because he felt I would have rebuffed him, which indeed I would have done. So we had that meeting, and I told Arafat that, look, I am willing to meet with anyone. In my capacity as chairman of the Police Service Commission, I'm willing to meet with anyone, but no one is going to get me to do anything that is illegal, unethical, and that is not right. I told him that. And then during the course, he asked me if I would meet with the Barajagdio. I told him the same thing. I said, yes, under the same conditions. And then he felt, I can see that he felt relief, and we continue to talk and so on, and then the meeting ended. The next day, he called me, or either the same day or the next day, I can't remember exactly. I would record it someplace, to tell me that he did not know I met with the big man. But by that, I understood him to mean the meeting that I had the previous day with the president. And I brushed it off. I said, well, man, I know that you and these people go, so I thought you knew of the meeting. He said, no, he did not know of the meeting. Right? So I had those two meetings on the 16th and the 17th. I know later on that they get Mark Phillips to sign affidavit to say no meeting. I asked other crap. You think I'm going to deal with all of the issue? So that meeting took place on the 17th. The next thing is that we received, the Police Service Commission received a document, a correspondence from Thomas, the man in charge of the Presidential Guard, recommending ranks on the Presidential Guard for promoting to acting appointments within the Guard. Now, we found that to be, we, the members of the commission, found that to be very unusual, because Thomas, as the head of Presidential Guard, has no authority to write to the Police Service Commission. That is not a protocol. Even if he wanted people to be promoted, he has to go through the Commissioner of Police. So we met, we discussed it, and I was told by the other members, I should write him. And I did so. I wrote him a very strong letter rebuking him, saying that you cannot write to the Police Service Commission. You ought to know what the procedure is. The same day that that letter was dispatched to Thomas, when I arrived home, I got a telephone call from the president. The president himself on a cell phone called me to tell me that I was harsh on Thomas. I was surprised that he knew so quickly that Thomas had gotten a letter from the Police Service Commission. And then he told me, that the president told me, that he had instructed Thomas to write to the Police Service Commission. So I said to him, I said that even if you had done so, Thomas, as a senior police officer, ought to have known that he could not write to the Police Service Commission directly. He should have advised you what is the correct protocol. And he brushed it off, said, man, go easy on him or something, words to that effect. Right? So that was shortly after. Then what happened next? Then Arafat called me sometime after, called up, and he told me that he had not been able to arrange for the meeting with Nanlal because Nanlal was busy with business of parliament and all of that. Can't remember the exact time he called me, the date and so on, but he called me to tell me that. The meetings never took place. There was never any meeting between Nandalal, me, nor the Vice President Jagdeo. It never took place. But the meeting with Kualanda took place where he said these things to me. Again, I want to do polygraph on all of these people. So after that, there was a lull in activities. Nothing happened really until the 17th of December, 2020. The Police Service Commission received letters from, I have the letters, I have the letters from the law firm of Satram and Satram on behalf of, let me tell you the name, Kemrat Shivbaran, Prem Narayan, at the time ASP Kemrat Shivbaran, Inspector Prem Narayan, Deputy Superintendent Rabindra Stanley, Woman Assistant Superintendent Shavan Jupiter, Superintendent Shiv Prasad Bakas, and Assistant Superintendent Madhyo Singh. They caused the lawyer to write to the Police Service Commission, and basically the thing headed pending investigation and promotion. The gist of the letter is that they were saying that they knew that they had disciplinary matters pending before the Police Service Commission, and they knew that that would have been a bar to promotion. So they were saying that the disciplinary matters before the commission should be expedited before any promotion was made at the end of 2020. And then they went on to what I consider threat, to say that if the commission went ahead with any promotion without the, concluding disciplinary matters, and they were excluded, they will move to the court to nullify the promotion. The letters are here. I have the letters. I have the letters that the lawyer sent to the Police Service Commission. I have copies of those letters. Right? So right, so the letters, we got those letters. So that was on the 17th of December 2020, even before the Police Service Commission met to consider promotion. Because the first meeting we had to consider promotions to 2020 was on the 23rd of December 2020. We met, we created what you call a short list. Because as I indicated before, it's a long process to really vet and make sure that the people who are deserving of promotions are promoted, and those who do not meet the necessary criteria are not promoted. So we started the process on the 23rd, because traditionally promotions are going to be made Oli's night, as we call it. So we started that process. Took an all day. We worked on it all day. I got home that evening, and when I got home, I was asked to make a call to the president, Irfan Ali. I was reluctant because right away I said, well, the fact that we had this meeting on the 16th of September, the Service Commission met on the 23rd, and the president wanted me to call him on the night of the 23rd. I suspect it had something to do with the promotion. I was reluctant to make the call. But as I've said, the discipline got the better of me. I got the person who called me, called back again, said the president was waiting for the call. So eventually I made the call. The president started off for the first couple of seconds, very nice. He was at some meeting on the East Coast, came back, and then he moved straight into this promotion issue. So I told him, well, we met and we created a short list. And then he asked about Brutus, he asked about Karimbash. And I told him, I said, well, as I indicated before, these ranks have pending disciplinary matters. And once you have pending disciplinary matters, you cannot be considered for promotion until the matters are concluded. And I told him, I said, in the case of Karimbash, it's even worse because Karimbash had moved to the High Court to challenge the disciplinary charges that were instituted against him. I told the president that. And the president fly off on this, how long this matter is going to be pending. People keeping matters pending just to deny. I said nothing of the sort. And I explained the whole thing to him. Right? And the man fly off on the handle. And then the conversation ended. This is night of the 23rd of December 2020. The following day, December the 24th, 2020, the Home Affairs Minister Robeson Ben sent a note to the commissioner of acting commissioner at the time. Well, he was acting, he was performing the functions, Nigel Appy, to tell him that Ben wanted several police officers charged with varying offenses. Charged, not investigated, charged with varying offenses. The names were listed. And then by the time the correspondence got to the police commission, they had everything to do with something around the election. In the case of the late Cooper, he was to be charged with dereliction of duty because they were saying that when the people were on the road for the Henry Boys murder, he did not take sufficient action to deal with the crowd. People charged, some of the ranks were to be charged for trafficking in person. People at the immigration department there were to be charged. And varying offenses. One officer was to be charged with assaulting a diplomat during the melee at the Ashman Compton House there. Imagine that a police officer, they were alleging, assaulted a diplomat. And you didn't hear no big nice about that. So all of these things were trumped up. All of these things were trumped up and designed to ensure that these persons were not promoted. Because as I've said, once I communicated to the president and people with pending disciplinary matters cannot be considered for promotion, they decided, all right, they're going to take it another notch up. Make up this thing about pending criminal charges against these people. When next the commission met, I think it was around the 30th or something like that, we had this letter came from the police administration signed by Brutus. And the start of the meeting, we discussed this letter because we found it very unusual that Brutus wrote this letter to the police commission in his own capacity. The standard is now, the protocol is, the commissioner of police communicates to the police service commission. And if anyone below the commissioner is sending a correspondence, they have to send it on behalf of the commissioner and not in their own capacity. So we had a discussion about this thing and we found it very irregular. And we asked the secretary, what are his views? Same Jai Gobind Jai Singh. And he said this is highly irregular and he advised that the commission should ignore that correspondence. And we did so. And we went ahead to further consider promotion. Now, when the president spoke to me that night on the 23rd of December, I got to realize based on the conversation that somehow the president knew the names of the persons on the short list. And I found that strange because that was a confidential document. Even the president was not supposed to see that document. I remember it's a preliminary document. We later learned that Brutus, I call in the name, let her go to court again and sue and all of that. Brutus said in an affidavit that the promotion shortlist was leaked to him by a confidential source at the Police Service Commission. That is in an affidavit signed by Calvin Brutus. Right? So that is how the president apparently knew. And that is how you see they kicked this thing in to charge persons and all of that because they knew who the persons are who were on the promotion shortlist. And we were considering, I think the next day now, the 31st, when the promotion was to be released, we got an order that Brutus then moved to the High Court to stop this promotion. Remember, the promotion wasn't even made. He moved to the High Court to complain. He was joined by Stanley, Shikprasad Bakas, Prem Narain, and Shavan Jupiter. They joined him in this challenge to the promotions